The Brooklyn Nets do it again. They lose by 53 to the Detroit Pistons. Can things get fixed just 3 days before the NBA trade deadline? Is the big question everyone will be asking, and we set out to answer that in today's video. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brooklyn Boys channel. As always, I am your host, Josh Woolever. To start, though, we have some groundskeeping, and then we will get into the show and all of that. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Best way to interact with our community is getting questions, comments, thoughts over in the chat for us to react to. Very, very exciting news out of my personal life. I will be on the Brooklyn Nets radio post-game show after tomorrow night's game against the Los Angeles Lakers at home. LeBron comes to town. Luka Doncic comes to town, and I am honored to be welcomed into the Brooklyn Nets radio booth to talk about it after the game. So make sure you tune in Sports Radio 1019 after the game. Get to chop it up with the legends, Chris Carino and Tim Capstra, who, by the way, just a couple of weeks ago did his 2000th straight game for the Brooklyn Nets. So ton of good stuff there. I'm very, very excited and honored to get to do that. You guys have been the platform that have allowed me to do so. So thank you so much if you've been watching since we started this channel way back in June. Thank you if this is your first time tuning in and you're here to see the continued growth. You all are the best. By the way, I picked up this hat, this Nets throwback hat at the NBA store over the weekend, and personally, I love it. Great powder blue look. Shout out to the New Jersey days before my time, but I got to remember the legends that played there. So love this hat, and you will be seeing more of it. And then one more thing, I can't remember if I gave a formal thank you. I don't remember doing so, so I'll circle back to make sure I do now. But thank you all for 1K followers on Twitter. That was the big milestone when I set out and started Nets content at the beginning of this year. Before this year, I really didn't have much going on Twitter. I was kind of, a lost fish in the sea, but I feel like I've really settled in there and I'm doing well. So thank you all. And I know we got a couple of you guys watching on Twitter in the house right now. So thank you all. That growth over there as well has been tremendous. All right, groundskeeping out of the way. The Nets have dodged my backlash for long enough. 3 minutes to be exact, but now we get into the crispy part of this episode because last night was another suffering, very embarrassing and disappointing loss as a Brooklyn Nets fan, a 130-77 loss at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit against the Pistons. That was the Pistons' largest margin of victory in franchise history, a 53-point win just 2 weeks after the Knicks got their largest margin of victory in their franchise history, both against the Nets, both within 2 weeks of each other. So it has been comically bad. It was in the month of February or rather in January, and now it seems like it may be leaking into February, the bad vibes that is. And I mean, 53-point losses, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't care how bad you think you're going to be on paper in any given season. That cannot happen for a professional sports franchise. Something has to change. There has to be a culture change in this locker room. As we'll get into, 3 days before the deadline, a lot can change in the next 72 hours. We're already hearing rumors buzzing about the Nets being incorporated in a deal that would send Giannis to Minnesota. Stay tuned for that. We'll break that down in the later parts of today's episode, so stay right here on the Brooklyn Boys show. But a ton can change in the next 72 hours. So this front office, this coaching staff, more importantly, has to figure out a way to keep the guys that will remain past the deadline intact and as one cohesive unit. Because, look, at the end of the day, no matter who is here, Jordi Fernandez knows that this is going to be a bad roster that he's going to have to make the best out of, but he has to have some sort of culture there. These losses degrade any sort of culture you may have. I don't care how bad, again, the team should be. A loss like this, and it's not just an outlier. We've seen this 5 times over the past 3 weeks. Losses like these denigrate and break down a team's foundational culture, even in a season when the goal is not to win an NBA championship. which is the case with the Brooklyn Nets right now. So we'll talk Pistons game, second game in a row with no MPJ. By the way, that's for personal reasons. They unfortunately had a death in the family, so we are hoping the best for MPJ and his family. Not for trade reasons, as there was some speculation online about. MPJ is all right, but hoping he's able to recover soon. But the Nets continue to look like fish out of water with no MPJ in the lineup. They have nothing going offensively. They beat Utah without him, but that was a Yegor Gilman takeover game. So if MPJ, and then that was the first game, by the way, all season that the Nets won with no Porter Jr. in there. So when there's no MPJ in there, the Nets have no offensive cohesiveness. There's a chance he's not on this team in 3 days. So something's got to budge. Something has to give at the deadline. And I get that this team has the resources to be good next year, 2 years. But the foundational culture cannot just revolve around one person. Right now it does. Nets have nothing, and I mean nothing, without Michael Porter Jr. out on the floor. So that has to change. This team at least has to stay competitive, look like a professional team on the basketball court. I don't care who you're playing, what night it is, second night of a back-to-back. I don't care. 50 points is never acceptable no matter the circumstances. There's pro tankers out there, but nobody wants this. Nobody wants to watch a basketball team that puts out this product. All around horrible. And the funny thing, it wasn't the same as what the Nets did against the Knicks. The Nets looked very, very good for 15 minutes. I believe they were leading after the first quarter. They looked very, very good. They looked like they were going to play a gritty game against the number 1 seed in the East. They looked like they were going to put up a fight like they did back in December when they won 8 games that month. They were beating teams they had no business, frankly, being competitive with. That's the kind of night it looked like. And then second quarter, complete turnaround. Nets go into the half down 15, and from there, there's no looking back. They don't even look like a professional team in that second half. So, it wasn't just like the Knicks game. This team actually had signs of life, and they just throw it all out the window. Oh, man, something has to change with this team. Something really does. I get this team, again, has the resources. They have a ton of picks throughout the next 6 years. They own the Knicks' future. They own the Suns' future. They have all these picks. They have so much cap space to work with this offseason or at the deadline. But you got to match salaries if it's a trade. So much cap space this offseason. The most in the league. Take on a new contract. They have friendly contracts to trade. The Nets are probably in the best position of any tanking team in the NBA. And they have a chance, a top 3 pick, maybe even the number 1 pick in this upcoming NBA draft. All that is great. All that is awesome. That's the type of stuff you look forward to when you're a rebuilding franchise. You need to look ahead into the future. That's the stuff you kind of look forward to. But none of that happens if games like this keep happening. If games where the Nets can't keep it within 50. Because even then, when you do get good players in the door, you're not going to have a foundation built. You're not going to have a coaching staff who has seen enough winning to be able to do it on a consistent level and make playoff runs. You're not going to be able to welcome in the number 1 pick and bring him into a new environment. All the resources down the line are great. Brooklyn needs to start building a culture right now this season, though. And that's why the games after the deadline are not only going to matter for draft positioning, but they're going to matter a ton to see if this Nets team has some heart, some grit, some care. That's what it looked like in December. In 2026 so far, it has not. So, I'll show you a couple of stats. It is embarrassingly bad. Look at the plus minus is where I want to start. Danny Wolf was a minus 43 last night in 29 minutes. A minus 43. That is unfathomably bad. Nick Claxton, 17 minutes, a negative 32. This team was a joke all night. They couldn't hit a shot. They went 23% from three-point territory. They only had 3 3-pointers in the entire first half. I mean, it was ridiculous. 24 of 73 from the field. A ton of guys going over. And you know it's a bad day when Yegor goes 0 for 4 from the field, Traore goes 2 of 7, Wolf goes 2 of 9, and Saraf goes 0 of 5, and Drake Powell goes 3 of 7. So combined, those guys got 7 field goals on close to 30 attempts. This team needs to turn a lot around. The culture is a big part of that. The rookie development is a big part of that. Again, I get the Detroit Pistons are a very, very good basketball team. This cannot happen. Simply cannot. Jalen Wilson playing 27 minutes. You know something had to have gone wrong. Had to have gone wrong. And why is Terrence Mann starting at this juncture in the season? I don't know. Maybe they need to raise up his trade value. I got no other reason for you, though. Not a little bit. You need to get to raise his trade value. How about Cam Thomas, who has averaged 15 points in the last 3 games, including 21 the night before in Utah? How about he gets some action with the starting 5 when the game was actually relevant in the first quarter? If there was any time to build up Cam Thomas's trade value, it is right now. And the Nets look like they're shying down from that. Could that mean they've already made their rounds on the phones and everyone said no? Sure. But there's still a chance that there is a team strongly looking at Cam Thomas and the Nets are just neglecting to play him in any amount of reasonable minutes. Makes no sense. Make sure you are liked and subbed to the channel. That's the best way to support the work we do. Get questions, comments, thoughts over in the chat. Best way to interact with us. I want to know what you guys have to think. That is how you do so. Man, that was a terrible game all around in Detroit. I think the best part as a Nets fan was the start of that game. JB Bickerstaff got a tech before the game started for clapping his hands. And they had to redo the jump ball 3 times. But other than that, I got no positives to take away from last night. One more big thing happened last night, and then we'll get into the potential Giannis deal. MPJ was snubbed from the All-Star game. And when I mean snubbed, it was horrendously bad. Because the All-Star reserves from both conferences came out last night, right around tip-off of the Nets game. And you will not believe the list of names that clocked in and took a spot ahead of Michael Porter Jr. for the Eastern Conference reserve spot. It is insane. I'm going to pull up the full list right now so you can see it. But, I mean, it's a clown show. It's ridiculous who the NBA decided should be the East reserves. Let's start with Norman Powell. And I put this post out on the Instagram. Norman Powell, MPJ is statistically better, I think, in every single category you could possibly think of. You're talking about the best contested three-point shooter in the league. And this season, I don't think there's even a question about it. He has literally been one of the best shooters in the league. He received the 8th most All-Star votes in the East for a reason. but you felt the need to get Scotty Barnes and Jalen Duren in ahead of him? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Norman Powell. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's a clear screw up from the NBA, just another way that they love to hate on the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know whose decision this was. There were some terrible calls. Jalen Duren. Let's go pull up his stats this season for the fun of it. This is going to be terrible. And it's crazy because there's only one injury replacement in the East right now, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and it's likely going to be Joel Embiid because they like to replace a big man with a big man. He's averaging 18 points. Hello? How about 25 from Michael Porter Jr.? I'm flabbergasted. I don't really have many words to describe this, but it is an all-around robbery on every single level by the National Basketball Association. This is one of the worst snubs of all time. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Nets fan. I mean, you got fans of every single team in the NBA talking about where's Michael Porter Jr. And MPJ in the offseason, I feel terrible for the guy. Just missed 2 games due to a death in the family. And his goal in the offseason was to make his first All-Star game. It is ridiculous. It is a wild, wild snub. I think the NBA has to feel ashamed of themselves. It was really, really bad. All right, hit like and hit subscribe to continue the growth of the channel. Pumps our content out to fellow Nets fans. Get questions, comments, thoughts, reactions over in the comments section. That is the best way to engage in the community. We'll get there in a couple of short minutes. I want to pull this graphic up. This is from Sleeper Nets, one of the best Nets content creators on Twitter. Take a look at this list to put into perspective just how bad the Nets have been playing recently. January 21st, that was the Knicks game. They scored 66 points. This is the lowest amount of total points in a game this season. 77 last night, and then 89. These are all within 2 weeks of each other. The Nets are a completely different NBA team from February to January. It's a rebuilding season, 100%. But this is flat out embarrassing. The type of numbers that this team continues to put up no matter what. So, you got to wonder when this saga of them being terrible ends. I mean, I guess the silver lining some could draw is that the best time for this to all happen is right before the trade deadline. Gets Sean Marks active. He knows he has to make some moves to fix this nonsense. But this can't keep happening. It really, really cannot. It has been a brutal 2026 and last 2 weeks for the Brooklyn Nets, for Brooklyn Nets fans all around. But we got you covered all season long, no matter what. Misery loves company. So subscribe right here to the show. That is the best way to support us. This, I think, is major news. And it's coming from Brian Windhorst of ESPN, NBA on ESPN, senior insider. Guy knows what he's talking about. He has his stuff straight. And this is a tweet that I put out earlier today. Windhorst telling us that the Timberwolves are aggressively pursuing Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, that is a just crazy headline as an NBA, as a basketball fan, to dream up in my head just off the rip. And teaming up with Giannis in that loaded West, chasing a chip with Gobert, with Naz Reid. I mean, just from a basketball fan, that is an insane headline to start. But let's put on the microscope. Let's scope in from a Nets perspective and read this subtext that has so much juiciness when it comes to Brooklyn involved in this. So, Windhorst writes, the Minnesota Timberwolves are aggressive in their pursuit of Giannis Antetokounmpo. including approaching third and fourth teams to get a deal done, per ESPN's Brian Windhorst on NBA Today show. Now, that's also interesting. Obviously, Giannis' salary is a ton. You need teams to match salaries. You need teams that are interested in giving up role players and interested in taking on picks, and teams with a ton of cap flexibility that aren't anywhere near the apron. Oh, wait, I think I've heard of one. A team that is hovering right around the salary cap, a team that would love nothing more than to acquire more picks for the future. It's the Brooklyn Nets. And to be honest, I don't think there's a more perfect fit of a team to facilitate a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade as that third or fourth team that was aforementioned than the Nets. I said in my tweet, the Nets could very well be one of these teams with the amount of cap they are. Huge things are coming, Brooklyn. And I think that because all the signs are pointing in the right direction for this to be the Brooklyn Nets, right? Like, what other team do we have that has the money to do this? That has the flexibility to do this? That has the interest in facilitating a Giannis deal? I'm not sure there is one out there right now in the NBA with a more lucrative reason to insert themselves into the Giannis deal as that third/fourth team. I'm really not sure there is. So this is a massive opportunity for Brooklyn and Sean Marks in the front office. This could completely change the outlook of the season. And 3 days before the deadline, I mean, we know by Thursday what the outcome of this is. And given the way the Nets have been playing recently, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, the Nets could absolutely just jump ship on this season and throw a guy like Nick Claxton somehow in the deal, like Michael Porter Jr. somehow fit in the deal. So, the Giannis pursuit, they clearly need a third or fourth team, or it sounds like Minnesota would have pulled the trigger by now. So it seems like they are really, really searching for a team out there that can help facilitate this deal. And I think the Brooklyn Nets are the perfect candidate to answer the phone and say yes. There's a chance that there's a deal in the works right now that details just haven't been ironed out. Sean Marks, get on it. Get on it. This is a massive, massive opportunity. I think the Nets absolutely insert themselves. We saw it earlier in the offseason. The Nets facilitated the Kristaps Porzingis deal that sent him from Boston to Atlanta. They had to take on the Terrence Mann contract in return, but got the 22nd pick, that turned into Drake Powell, who has early on in his NBA career shown a ton of defensive upside. So the Nets have successfully done this before. I see no reason not to get aggressive and do it now at what has a chance to be the last deadline before this team is a contending team in the Eastern Conference. All right, we got a couple questions, comments, thoughts loaded up in our chat box here. If you have your own reactions that you want me to talk about, make sure you throw them there real quick. Jonathan's in the building. Big versus South Philly is also in the building. He says Nets will have a better team next year. That is the hope, my friend, with Houston owning the 2027 draft pick. Next season is the time to go head first and contend as this team sees fit with, again, a ton of money to spend in the offseason. Nets have a lot of directions to go. I'm getting some breaking MLB news from Jeff Passan on my phone that the Mariners are acquiring all-star infielder Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals for what looks like some prospects. So good for you. If you're a baseball fan, tap in there. But let's keep it going with the Nets talk right here on the show. Jonathan comes in and says it's unlikely Nets move MPJ, but Day'Ron Sharpe and Claxton are drawing interest from multiple teams. Those are two great rebounding and paint anchoring centers that are on friendly contracts. Claxton, 20 a year, Sharpe only 6 a year after he signed a 2-year, $12 million extension in the offseason. Does one or both of these get moved by Thursday? OKC, Celtics, LA. Those are all good options, right? I think all those teams would love a center. I think Dayron Sharp is a little bit more likely. There's teams that are right near the second apron that $6 million might be all they can afford for the rest of this season. So Dayron Sharp is that answer. But man, he is so great. Will give you the highest quality minutes you could ask for. Does Dayron Sharp? So he's certainly a name I'm interested in. Nick Claxton, I've been saying this for a while now. I think it's more likely that the Nets start thinking about dealing Claxton in the offseason just so that they can start a sweepstakes and start, a bidding process almost on Nick Claxton in a sense where you have these teams with more cap space after they figure out their situations over the summer rather than at the deadline. You might be looking at a little bit less, but Sharp and Claxton could certainly be options. Cam Thomas has his last game tomorrow against the LA Lakers, and they can flip him for something like Gary Harris in a second, or Milwaukee, or he gets waived. What do you say? I say at this point, any value is enough for me to say bye to Cam Thomas, and I literally mean a second round pick and a salary that you got to cut. That is enough value at this point. I think most likely outcome, I'd say it's probably 60-40. They should end up cutting him, that there is no space for Cam on any NBA roster right now, which sucks for him. He bet on his future and looks like he is not going to be on the winning end of that stick. But Cam Thomas, I feel like at this point, the Nets are lucky if they get anything for him. I still haven't heard. How's my hat looking, guys? The throwback Nets hat. Let me know if you're tuned in with us live. I personally really like it. $54, Hats hit the inflation part of the economy pretty quickly, but I don't know. NBA's got to stay in business. That's how they do it. Fine with me. Both the Warriors are in the lead for Giannis due to their draft capital, but Timberwolves are making one late run over Miami and Knicks. Miami's not going to do that, but need 2 to 3 teams to help. Could we get in? Yes, already hit on that. I think the Nets are one of the best options in terms of teams that could help facilitate a Giannis to Minnesota option, as mentioned by Brian Windhurst. One of these 2 to 3 teams that has the cap space to do so, wants to acquire the picks. So that's where we're at with that one. One more question here. Cavs are shopping Max Strus as a possible salary dump with draft capital and Lonzo Ball. He has $10 million on the block as well. Do you see the Nets doing business with the Cavs soon? Certainly could. I think Cleveland wants a shakeup, whether it's at the deadline, whether it's in the offseason. They've ran this core back 3 years in a row now with the same disappointing results over in Cleveland. So I could certainly see a world in which they sell house and want to restart. Don't think it'd be at the deadline. There's a small chance there is. I don't know if I want the Nets doing some straight up trades just to acquire role players on expiring deals. That doesn't make a ton of sense for me right now. But again, if you want to be a facilitator in one of these deals, I have no problem with that. Jason Spitzberg is in the house. He comes in and says this team continues to be non-competitive every other game. I know it's weird like that, right? This team can't seem to string together, 2 good, solid performances in a row. They finally won, one of their few games of 2026 thus far. First game of February, though, on in Utah, rather, on Friday night, but then they come out and look horrible against Detroit Sunday, last night. But look, to be honest, if that means the Nets get to be competitive while they host LeBron and Luka at the Barclays Center against the Lakers, against one of the best teams in the NBA, and I'll be there, I think that's a trade-off I will be willing to make. So, yeah, they can play bad in Detroit. Last year, I was actually at Nets Lakers here at the Barclays Center before I had the show. It was an awesome game. The Nets beat the Lakers. It was one of the lamest triple doubles I think I've ever seen in my life by Luka Doncic. I think he had like 11, 10, and 10. Let me try and find the final stat line from this game. It would have been early 2025. Here it is. This is a 111-108 win. This was the game, March 10th of 2025. We bought tickets to try and get to see LeBron in person. Ended up not being able to. He got injured like 2 weeks before after we already had tickets. So I will get this up to you guys, but this is what it looked like from the Lakers' perspective on things. Again, Nets won by 3 this game. Oh, no, this isn't what I remember. Luka actually had 22 points in 41 minutes. He went 8 of 26 and 3 of 10 from the field, 12 and 12. So a little bit better stat line than I thought about. Well, look at this Jordan Goodwin game, legacy game. Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, all these guys had big games. Shake Milton, a former net in there. But I just remember going to this game so vividly. It had to have been 3/4 Laker fans there at the Barclays Center. LA really knows how to take over. So do a lot of away teams with good fan bases in Brooklyn because, to be honest, Nets fans really do not show out in these games. Hopefully, that's a little bit different tomorrow. But people need to get their hands on these tickets, man. There's a chance this is LeBron's last or second to last game ever at the Barclays Center since the Nets and Lakers aren't in the same conference. They only play each other once at each spot each season. So this is it, right? Chance LeBron retires end of this year, end of next year. So you're talking about a very, very limited window to see arguably the best basketball player ever. There's people that it doesn't matter what the price you name is, they want to be there for it. So it should be a very, very hot commodity and a very, very exciting one tomorrow night in Brooklyn. I think the price to get in the door for Knicks Lakers, obviously Knicks, the bigger of the two New York market teams, I think it was like $800 just to get in the door, and then the average price was closer to $1,500 or something crazy, ridiculous like that. But the Knicks are a huge market, and the Lakers, again with LeBron, that's what's going to do it for them. One more from Jonathan here before we wrap up. Brooklyn is falling down to the bottom 3 where their draft pick could fall no less than 7. Is the worst record attainable, or a second or fourth where they're likely finishing? I don't think it's the worst record, and that's fine because the bottom 3 teams all have the same odds at the number 1 pick, the same odds at a top 4 pick. I think it's 52% for a top 4 pick if you finish as one of the bottom 3 teams, and a 14.5% chance at that number 1 overall pick, which we know has meant nothing over the past 2 years with the Hawks jumping everybody, going from last to first in a draft that didn't matter. But then obviously, oh my gosh, this guy right here, Cooper Flag, going to Dallas with his jump of the Mavs, less than 2% chance to get the first pick. By the way, I think I'm going to open this pack live on stream because I got this at the NBA store same day I got the hat. And I haven't opened it yet. Chance I get an autograph, chance I get some rookies. So maybe there's a Yegor or a Drake Powell or a Net lying in that pack. So I think I'll open that after this comment. But to be honest, bottom 3 is all I care about, right? Why would I care about the worst record if it doesn't make a difference? Nets have shown their ability to win games. They shouldn't. Nets have shown their ability to stay in games. They shouldn't, obviously, not the past 3 weeks, but way before that. Yes, so I don't think this team finishes with the worst record. Frankly, I don't care. There's some teams around them that have been winning lately. The Pacers have been hot for whatever reason. The Wizards, I believe, won last night. Charlotte is one of the best teams in the league right now over the past, 2-3 weeks for whatever reason. They've really heated up as their lineup has gotten back together and fully healthy. They, as crazy as it sounds, still 5 games under 500, I believe, could make a move at the deadline, try and sneak in the back door into the play-in tournament. But that is the NBA records. All right, let's open this pack to end off the stream. If any of you like basketball cards or sports cards in general, wish me luck. I used to love this stuff. I'm not huge on it anymore, but looks like we got 36 cards. I'm looking for autograph and relic cards. And I could have a retail exclusive or some parallels in the bunch. So that's what I'm looking for. Chance I get this Cooper Flag card worth $10,000. But, for whatever reason, I don't think my luck is that good. Look at the first card I got is Mr. Suspended. 25 games for PEDs. Paul George, my brother. That is, not going to be great. We got an Isaiah Collier on the Jazz. And look, we had our first Brooklyn Net. Jalen Wilson, of all people, is my first Nets pull out of this bunch. Let's see his stats from last year. He played the most minutes on both Long Island and New York last year. I do know that. Let's see his fun fact. Jalen popped for a season-high 18 points in November of 2024 against Golden State, but his most solid stretch was in January of 25. Versatile ring reached double figures 7 times this month, averaging 10.3. Okay, yeah, they had to make up a lame stat. Scoot Henderson, Baylor Shireman. We got an SGA action. Boom, 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 Mr. MVP of last year. I love these cards, actually, these full art cards of like a team. We have a Light the Beam Kings card, rather. So those are always fun. I remember when the Nets bench used to have these vibes. We need to bring these back. I think Cam Thomas kills the vibes on this team. So another reason to get rid of him. Here's a couple of the guys they have there. Gigi Jackson, Tyrese Proctor, Duke legend Tyrese Proctor. All right, we got a cat. Karl Anthony Towns in the house. Boom, Lauri Markkanen. How about that? I'll let you guys see it first. Tyrese Maxey. Okay, not bad. Love him. Love the Sixers. Keontae George. Good pull right there. Kyle Filipowski. Back-to-back Jazzers. Ooh, I don't want to let you guys see those ones too early. Kyle Filipowski. Oh, we got Zaire. Big Z in the house. We got another Brooklyn Net. All right. Good stuff. Second one on top of Jalen Wilson. So we're getting the role players in the building. Newcomer to the Nets in 24-25. Zaire averaged double-digit points in his season for the first time in his career. He lit up Golden State for 19 points. Wouldn't everybody light up Golden State? Shot 34% from three. Not bad. A steal a game, averaging 10 points flat. Zaire Williams, our second net. All right, good stuff there. Cason Wallace of the OKC Thunder. And then we got another team card. A won't bow down Pels pair control game. I think the Pels will bow down this year. They have been horrible. Hopefully they'll win a little bit to help the Nets draft stock. We got a Peyton Pritchard action in the house. How about Rob Dillingham? Love these. Oh, wrong way. Love these sideway cards. Rob Dillingham, a name thrown around in the Giannis sweepstakes potentially as a part of that Brooklyn trade. A Suns team card. How you doing, Phoenix? Just beat the Nets twice in a row. Suns duo heat up scoreboard. All right, that is Devin Booker. Let's see. We got another one here with Gary Trent Jr. of the Bucks. AD, if he's ever healthy. Brandon Miller of the Hornets. Reed Shepherd of the Rockets. Oh, that's a cool card. Domantas Sabonis, power players. How you doing? Like this card art. I don't know if it's worth anything, but this is one of those where the art sort of pops out all the way to the edges. And I don't really know how to hold this right. All the way to the edges, and it doesn't have an outline. Just as the Kings logo. Power players, Sabonis. Then we got another cool one in the house. 8-bit ballers, Shaquille O'Neal. Looks like a Mario game there. If you can see. That's cool. I mean, it's obviously, I think it's meant to look like a video game. Shaq has a little pixelated outline there that, if unintentional, is pretty obvious, but 239 blocks, 6th most in team history, 336 offensive rebounds in the 19-2000 season. Attaboy. And then we got another one, another power players. By the way, Chris, yes, we are doing pack openings now. I got an extra one from the NBA store, so wanted to do it live on stream. Zaire, indeed. We got another power players, Jason Tatum. I'll give this one less fame. It's exact same as Sabonis, and this is the guy the Nets. Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett deal. Don't need to go too in depth about it. Nick Clifford rookie card. That's not bad at all from Sacramento. I'll take that. I like him. Micah Peavy. Not going to lie and act like I know that name. Carmelo. In that sick Denver baby blue. Kind of matches the hat today. Little throwback Carmelo Anthony. Shout out Syracuse Hugh. There you go. Bernard King on the Knicks. Look at that jersey on Bernard King. Wow. That is a throwback. 51% shooting during his 14-year career. Impressive. 22.5 a game. He put up thousands of shots in practice within 20. Manu Ginobili. All right, now we're into the legend status. Manu Ginobili, how you doing on the Spurs? And then Kaman Malawach, the guy that I was ranting on one of the Nets to draft this offseason rookie card. Good thing they didn't. Con Kanipo rookie, now that could be of some monetary value somewhere down the line. He's going to finish as the best rookie three-point shooter in NBA history, no doubt. A Yuki Kamawara, Grizzlies card. A Wemby Spurs card. Hello. Josh Giddey, I like his name. And finally, Walter Clayton rookie. All right, so no Cooper Flag signature autograph rookie card. No Yegor Gioman. My two Nets on the day were Jalen Wilson and Zaire Williams. Could ask for more, but that's what you get when you open packs. This is my favorite card. Right here, the Sabonis full card out. All right, pack opening. First time I've done that on the show. It's actually pretty fun. All right, that will do it for me. Monday, February 2nd is your date from the greatest borough in the world. Nets play the Lakers tomorrow night. I'll be there. I'll be on the post-game show of Brooklyn Nets Radio with Chris Carino, with Tim Capstraw. Tune in there. Make sure you are there. To the 50 of you guys watching live, you guys are the best. Hit like and hit subscribe. That is the best way to help support what we do right here on the show. You guys are the best. That is all I got for you. Make sure you're tapped in on the socials. _Brooklyn Boys over on the Instagram, at Josh Wolliver on Twitter. But subscribing to the show, turning on notifications, best way to support what we do. That'll do it from Brooklyn. That's all I got for you. I'm Josh Wolliver for the Brooklyn Boys Show, saying have a great night, everybody. Let's see if the Nets can surprise us tomorrow night and actually play well against the Lakers. Indeed, Jason. We'll end it as we always do. Let's go Nets. Good night, everybody. Stay safe. Have a good one.